Neben mir sitzt eine Legende, Slash. Wir sind hier in Köln im Hyatt und er promotet momentan ein bisschen sein neues Album. Slash, this is already the second record you're working on together with Miles. And I asked myself, what is special about working with Miles if you compare it to all the other musicians or singers you worked with in the past?
Miles is just, you know, he was somebody that I didn't know when I was doing my last record. When I recruited him, he was somebody that I'd heard a lot about. And so he and I hooked up and he wrote a really terrific song called Starlight. And on that song, I was like, wow, this guy's really good. It was his songwriting, it was his whole style, I thought was really amazing. So we did that song together, and I had another piece of music that I gave to him, and it turned out to be a song called Back from Cali. And so at that point, I was like, this guy's really good, and I'm about to do this tour, and I need somebody to sing, you know, stuff from this record and old stuff from Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver, and he was the only guy that I met in recent years I thought could really handle that whole sort of diverse bunch of songs. So I asked him to do the tour, and it turned out that he was fucking amazing, you know. So we started touring together, and we had a great live chemistry as well. So I thought if I was going to do another record, he would be the guy I would do it with, and it turned out to be a really great call. I'm really glad that I met Miles, and we had a great writing relationship on the road and a great, you know, all-around sort of personal relationship, and it turned out a pretty cool record, so, yeah.
Well, I think in general, you worked with a lot of very diverse personalities in your past. For example, I found Michael Jackson, Alice Cooper, and Doro Pesch, and I thought by myself, what did you learn from each of these persons?
Well, I mean, I think when I first started doing sessions outside of the band that I was in, Alice Cooper was the first one, you know, and a great, huge hero of mine, you know. And you learn how to adapt to different situations. You learn how to play just a little differently, you know, with each and every one. And especially when you start doing something like, say, Michael Jackson, which is completely out of my normal comfort zone. You learn how to acclimate to that situation. And it's just really healthy as a musician growing experience, and working with people who are very established in their own right, and sort of learning how to sort of apply your style to that, and you sort of augment it a little ways and so on. And sort of sometimes the more diverse the artist, you know, the more you learn out of how to sort of you know, adapt to that situation. And it's been great for me on a professional level, because I've worked with so many different situations. I can walk into a room with an amp and a guitar and pretty much automatically be able to fit into whatever it is. So
yeah. And
it keeps you from just being in one comfort zone, you know, where you only one-dimensional, just the band that you're in, that's all you know how to do. It sort of broadens your horizons a little bit.
Well, I guess you're going on a long tour with Slash right now, with the band. Yeah. And I just read in an interview that's not too long ago that it's still a little bit weird for you to come back home after a tour when there's not too much to do anymore. Is it still the case that you kind of need time to adapt, or is it today easier because you have your family at home that keeps you busy?
Let's see. Well, but yeah, my family definitely keeps me busy. It's still a sort of acclimation process when you get home from a tour, though, where, you know, I mean, there's little breaks in the tour for a week or something here and there where I'll come home, and sometimes it's only for 2 days, but you have to sort of like adjust to domestic life, because everybody in the house, they're not all fucking, you know, out touring all the time, so they've been at home this whole time, and they're sort of like, you know, you come walking in, it's almost like you're invading their space, you know. You know, my cat has to be, I have to sort of, you know, sort of like reintroduce myself to the cat and the snake and all that. Yeah, so there is an acclimation process. And I live out of my suitcase at home for that first week, and you just have to sort of like, once again, sort of adapt to it.
And how do your two boys react? I think they're like 7, 9 years old. Is it like, okay, daddy's coming home, now he's a little bit crazy, let's wait, and then he gets normal, or how do they react?
Actually, I don't know if they have a thought process to it. I sort of call up and tell them when I'm coming back, and they've got their whole routine that they're doing, so they're not really that interested in doing any kind of adapting. We just sort of like get thrown into the mix, back into the mix together. And I'm probably the one who has to do the most adapting because they've already got their sort of schedule sort of set, and I come walking in the door and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, Anyway, so they don't really have to do much adapting. They sort of just stick to their own thing and say, hey, they're always glad to see me, But, first thing is like, let's go to the skate park,
And are they interested in your band and your music? Did they want to listen to the new record?
Yeah, they get forced to, because I do all these rough mixes and stuff, and I put them in the car, and so anytime that they're in the car, they get forced to listen to it. But they like hearing what it is, and they're not necessarily interested in what the band is doing per se, but they like the guys. They like it when they're coming over to the house and shit like that. But they're so used to it that it's not like a big special thing to them. They were born into this kind of lifestyle, so it's sort of like, one day into the next, it's like any different kinds of things might be happening with what dad's doing, and none of it seems all that interesting,